I don't like nitros.
Okay, folks. Well, we have a pretty good group here today. Unfortunately, a good amount of people that wanted to join could not because actually they could not find the beer. And we're looking at Samuel Adams Cream Stout. So they were so disappointed. And it's hard to... People will say, why don't you do all these exotic beers, and they'll give me a list, and I say it's fine, but people can't get it.
We're calling them exotic for a reason.
We're trying. Hey, you might say, well, Samuel Adams Boston Ale is not exotic. Well, it must be exotic if people can't get it, or it's rare.
I couldn't find the last week. That's why I couldn't make it.
Boston
what was
Ale.
it?
Boston Ale.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Boston
we couldn't
Ale,
get Boston
right, yeah.
Ale in Wyoming either.
That beer is so good.
Okay, now I was looking on. Let's see, this thing won. Oh, that's some little minor festival. It did win gold at the Great American Beer Festival in 1998.
2002 gold in Aspen for you Colorado people.
Yeah, the one year that they moved the beer festival to
2005.
Philadelphia, and people fussed about it, so they.
They leave it in Denver, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Denver.
I think they were going to try to go traveling around the country and do it at different sites, but people didn't like that, so I would have liked it if they'd have come to New Orleans. But all right, now, boy, this is such a thick head. I had to sip it fast.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's like a milkshake or something.
I stopped before a mess ensued.
That's pretty frothy. Finger and a half.
First,
Beautiful.
we'll introduce who's here. Up in New England, we have Friar Tuck and Nate. Eric. I thought we were going to have Nate, but I think he was having trouble finding it.
Yeah.
Eric with Massachusetts Beer Reviews. We have in the north we have Lee Poznansky with Poznansky's Beer Reviews.
Hello.
In Queens, New
Nice
York.
to meet you.
Yes. Yeah. I have to introduce you to the rest of the group. This is Lee. He started doing beer reviews a few months ago, and I really enjoyed watching them. It was in 2015, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
I think so too. And then we have John from Indiana, and then we have down south myself, Louisiana Beer Reviews, and out west we have Paul in Texas, and we have Michelle.
In immortal words of Diamond Dave, I'm back.
Back like David Lee Roth. Now, we have Michelle Stitches and Beer Cub out in the Rocky Mountain West. So, anybody want to tell the audience what year this beer was introduced? Wow, look at that head. It's incredible.
No, I do not want to, because I don't.
No, I didn't.
I don't know.
I'll tell you. On the Samuel Adams website, they used to give the year, but they stopped. But I had to look back at my notes on the original time I reviewed the beer, and it was 1991, okay? Because my notes came from the Samuel Adams website.
Yep.
So 6 years after they got started, they introduced this beer. It's 4.9% alcohol, and I believe they said it was 28 IBU.
Yes.
Yep.
And there's a whole list of ingredients.
Yep.
We've done Guinness draft. We did the Guinness, and people weren't too thrilled with that because it said it was too thin. And then it said it didn't have enough flavor. And then we did the Guinness Extra Stout, which everybody was bragging about and loving it. And we did the Foreign Extra Stout, which everybody really went berserk about. So we're going to do a cream stout or a sweet stout, right?
Yep.
Who has never had this beer before?
I have not. I might have had it once, but I do not remember.
Okay.
Yeah, same
Paul's
here.
never
Never had this for the first time.
John's never had it. Paul's never had it.
We've never had it.
Wow, I have. Okay, so I think I bought a 6-pack at least once, and I was really bragging on it. I think I remember where I was sitting when I did the review, actually. But I can just sometimes remember the setting, you know.
Smells like chocolate milk, if you ask me.
So we're gonna I'm going to mention this real fast. I read this book called The Craft Beer Revolution, and the guy that wrote the book, Steve Hindy, he talked a lot about Jim Koch, Jim Cook, the founder of Boston Beer Company. And he said in the book that the man made really good beers. Plus, he said a lot of other stuff. All right, now, our New England friends, way up in Massachusetts, and that's a long drive from Louisiana because Paul rode with me once up there from here, and then 2 years ago I was with somebody and dropped them off in Virginia, and then I went alone to Fenway Park to watch the Red Sox. What do you think about this beer, Eric, since you've never, I think you said you've never had it before, right?
Well, the first time that I had it was, I guess that would have been 2 weeks ago, buying the 6-pack. And this is I guess this is the 4th bottle that I've had in those 2 weeks. And you know what? I'm thinking that this is pretty good for as far as either being called a milk stout. That would be a good description. It's really got a nice milk, lactic kind of a sugary sweetness. And even calling it a sweet stout would be, to me, would be a good description. But it's not, to me, it's not overly sweet. It's not cloying. It's not like a Belgian dark strong ale where it's just like candied sugar. It's not like that at all. But it's really got a good dark roasted malt. It definitely has the smell and the taste of chocolate milk to me. And yeah, it's like a light. It's just like a light dessert beer without it being too much of anything. It's good.
And the alcohol level seems appropriate, huh?
Yeah, it's definitely on line with it being an English kind of a stout, except for, you know, I know the English invented or came up with the idea of the imperial stout, but it's more along the lines of a drink that you can have in the pub and just sit there all day and have it and not get too messed up. I guess.
Right. And it's certified kosher. Now,
Bing, bing, bing. Thumbs up.
so you give it a thumbs up. You would buy it again.
I would definitely buy it again.
Fried Tuck.
Yes.
You've drank this quite a few times, I guess.
If I have, I don't remember.
Wait
It's
a
been
minute.
years.
Do y'all notice a problem?
Yeah, no audio on Friar Tuck.
We can't hear you. All right.
We can hear them.
Oh, you can't? We can't.
I can hear.
I can't.
Well, why would some people be able to hear one person and others?
That's really weird. Now,
Don't know.
Beer Cub, you translate what he's saying now. You're going to be
I can't hear him.
like Speed Racer with you're going to be his eyes and he's going to be
A monkey guy.
he's going to be Racer X's legs. So you tell us what's happening.
Friar Tuck said he had not had this beer before, that he recalls.
And what does he think about it?
Speak up,
very,
man.
very
He's
good.
having audio. It's some kind of a strange feed situation.
He says it's very good. This is the Beer Examination UN edition tonight.
Translation.
Yeah.
United Nations. Now, moving over a little bit west, well, quite a bit west. Oh, I'm sorry, southwest, not so much far south, but to Poznansky. What do you think about it?
My opinion, I think it's when I opened the cap and I poured it in and I got the nose, I noticed that it's very heavy on the dark roasted malts and heavy on the chocolate, which has a little coffee and caramel, but I don't think it's too over the top for my taste. And one good thing I noticed about this beer is it's not too heavy, and it's not too heavy in alcohol content, and it's almost like a medium body beer for me.
Yeah.
Like, so I could totally drink more than one of these and not get a bloated stomach. So, which is a plus on my side, so I give it a thumbs up.
What do they say? They say this has 189 calories per one of these bottles, so it's not too bad for a stout, I guess.
Right. It's got them, but it's not overloaded with calories. Now, what do you think, John and Sharon?
Well, I think it's an enjoyable stout. I mean, I get the coffee, I get the big chocolate malt in it, I get the creaminess in the back end of it, which is really pleasing to the palate. But overall, I mean, I think it's a good beer. I mean, I've never had this beer before, Is it a buy again? I would probably buy this again. I think it's a big good transition beer for somebody that's never had a stout to try. And I mean, you look what Beer Advocate and Rate Beer give it. I mean, it's over the top, and I give it an over the top rating also. I mean,
Rose say it's world class.
Yeah, it is.
I agree.
They're saying it's a world class. Now, regular Beer Advocate people are saying very good, like B+. But the Bros, and they're very stingy about giving a world class rating, right? They're saying it's world class. In other words, one of the best cream stouts on the planet.
Yeah,
Wow.
I would like to see this beer more readily available in a lot more package stores and department stores than just one in my whole area. So.
Right. Now, some people are going to rip on it and say, well, it's a macro beer. You know what? So what? It tastes great.
They don't remind me of any macro beer I've ever had in my lifetime.
But it is a macro beer because it's made in a huge volume. You know, Samuel Adams is a huge company. They're certainly not a micro brewer by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
But they make really good stuff. Now, they make some other questionable products, I got to say, but
Cherry weed.
Cherry weed.
I would probably pick this Sam Adams over the Boston Lager, the Boston any of those other Boston products that are out there. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
I might do the same thing. Now, I'll talk for a minute, and then we'll go out west. To me, it has like such a rich, creamy aroma. It's like it's roasted malts, it's creaminess, it's like they were saying coffee.
Chocolate milk.
It's almost like cafe au lait. Like,
Yeah. Hell yeah.
because John was at Cafe Du Monde with me, and he had those beignets. Don't you think this would pair well with those beignets?
Oh God, this is awesome with the beignets. Yes.
And the flavor.
I can't think of beer that wouldn't go with beignets. Though.
I don't know about Modelo Especial Chilada. That may not pair so well with beignets, but I think this would pair well with this because it's sweet like the coffee, you know, and it's got the milkiness, and it's like dark roast, but I don't think it's quite burnt. You know, it's not super burnt. You know, some of these dark roasted beers, they're like burnt.
Yeah.
It's acidic, and I think the bitterness is coming from the dark roasted malts more than any kind of hops.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't get much hop in it.
It's sort of like when you,
bitter.
huh?
It finishes bitter, but it's not hoppy.
It's corn bitter, basically.
But it's got hops in it because if it didn't, it would be so sweet. Probably.
But I guess what I was trying to say briefly here was that it's a pleasant bitterness. Is where I think about it.
Yeah, but you know, talking about bitterness, I drank the Drink By IPA from Stout Saturday, and it's supposed to be 100 IBU, and it was great. I mean, yeah, it was an A+, wasn't world class, but it was an A+. But
Yeah.
I didn't find it was that bitter. I said, this beer is not that bitter, and you know, it was hoppy, but it wasn't bitter. You know, that's a little different.
Hoppy beers seem to be. I mean, those flavors seem to be a little bit more subdued when you have a really pronounced malt backbone to the beer.
Yeah,
When
and
you're
I
more
think
of a malty backbone, you don't notice it being so outright in your face bitter.
that's right. I think that the Drink By had such a strong malt component that it just did not come across as very bitter. It had a lot of hop resin. Well, anyway, back to this beer. But Paul, and then we'll go out to Wyoming.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
My first take on it when I poured it, I had a pleasant disposition to it the first time I poured it because it just looked really nice. Like, it's aesthetically pleasing. The color of the head was just like a perfect kind of brownish beige and smelled like, you know, that coffee, that milky coffee smell, and just a nice black color. It's just it's a perfect stout, and tastes really good. It's not overbearing. I really taste the coffee in it. I taste that bitterness on the back end, like you guys were saying. And it's just really good, really good beer.
Now you're a big time porter person, right?
And I'll say this too. I wasn't really necessarily looking forward to it today. I'm not a big stout and porter drinker in June and July in Texas, but it's good.
But you generally are a porter guy, right?
I like porters and I like stouts, but I like them in the fall and the winter.
Yeah, I understand that.
Even in early spring, but like I don't know, there comes a point in the year where I don't really crave it at all. You know, like when it gets hot, I just don't think about it.
Yeah, the reason I picked it for this time of the year is because I was scared I'd forget about it.
I'm not.
You know what I mean? Like I said, if I don't put it on the schedule, I'll forget about it. Yeah, it was about 86 in New York. Well, I was in New York last month, and it was like 90 something. They had a heat wave. I was like burning up over there. And then I went to Baltimore, and it was 95.
Yeah, we're not used to that kind of weather here.
I know, but I watched the Chicago Cubs last night, and it was 60 degrees. I was like, wow, 60 degrees. It won't be that chilly over here until October.
Yeah, we got stout weather out here right now. It's the last 2 days, highs in the 50s and rainy. So.
Wow.
Okay.
So this is
Right.
for you.
Where are you guys? You're in
Wyoming.
What part?
Cheyenne.
It's a strange front, though. We were having very hot summer weather prior to that, and we'll have it again in a few days. So it's just a little break to make us feel good.
I don't think we've had a day around here for the last month that it's not at least rained once.
Rainy, huh? Well, how does Beer Cub and Michelle Stitches like this beer?
Okay, well, I am a porter and stout lover, so I'm pleasantly surprised. I kind of had low expectations because it was Sam Adams, and I've been disappointed by some of their other brews. I think a couple of things I would just like to clarify a little bit, only because there might be somebody watching who doesn't drink beers like this, and some of the terms we're using. When we say chocolate, we're not talking Hershey's chocolate bar. We're talking 85% dark chocolate. So when the smell and taste of chocolate and coffee in this beer, to me, is not that sweet, syrupy Starbucks coffee drink or your Hershey's milk chocolate. This is that nice, bitter, roasty coffee black or dark chocolate. And both of those are things I'm very fond of. So I'm liking this beer, and I agree it's not too heavy, it's not too sweet. It has some crispness to it without being too light, like the draft that you guys were talking about, the Guinness draft. I don't like that. I like the regular Guinness much better. So I give it 2 thumbs up, and I would definitely drink this again, especially in cool weather.
Excellent examination.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll echo some of the things that have already been said. I didn't have a lot of it. Didn't really know what to expect with this beer, but I don't generally care for the sweet stouts. I usually like the dry stouts a lot better, so that kind of lowered my expectations. But in that category, I have to say this is one of the better ones, if not the best one that I've tried, because I could drink this and I would probably buy it again, whereas a lot of times sweet stouts to me are just too cloying. They're just not my thing. But, you know, it looks good, it smells good, it tastes great. I mean, I just don't see anything to criticize with this beer. And I think that many times I've met people who say they don't like beer. Well, if you're a coffee drinker who thinks you don't like beer, this would be an excellent beer to try.
Yes, and I think, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
It's all right.
Yes, and I think a lot of people, like you say, a coffee drinker that says they don't like beer, I bet they've never even had a stout or a cream stout.
Right.
Or a dry stout.
Yep.
And they might really love it. Like, they might say, wow, this is so different than the Bud Light that my uncle was trying to get me to drink. Well, yeah, it's a lot different.
And one other thing, once again, just for people who maybe are watching that aren't real familiar with beer, when it says cream stout or milk stout, there's not cream or milk. Because I remember the first time I heard those terms going, what? But just in case anybody's watching, that's a description, but that's not that because it has milk or cream in the beer. So.
Right. Now, one beer that I love was the Duck Rabbit Milk Stout.
Oh, yeah.
That was really good.
That used to be 20 miles from our house. We've been to that brewery multiple times.
Yeah, and I had people telling me that stuff's horrible. What are you talking about? I said, it wasn't horrible to me.
That's all that matters.
It was so good. Now, my final thoughts, and then I'm gonna let everybody else give their. My final thoughts is I cannot find. I literally cannot find any negatives to associate with this beer. I'm telling you right now, it is like 100% good and 0% bad in my opinion. And that's all I got to say about it. I think it's great. I love it. I'd never get tired of drinking this beer. No way. Anybody else want to talk? Go ahead.
I agree.
I agree.
You know, I'm not a big stout fan.
I guess I would say this.
Okay.
I'm not a big stout fan by.
Oh, okay, John.
I'm not a big stout fan by any means, but this is one that I could probably drink over and over and over quite a few times. I mean, it's an enjoyable beer, and I'm glad Michelle said what she said. I mean, it brought up a lot of good aspects to people that maybe watch this and really don't understand what we're talking about. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. Paul.
All I was gonna say is I know a lot of people. There's some Samuel Adams, I guess, that they don't like, and there may be some negative things about Samuel Adams. I haven't had a lot of their beers, and the few that I've had, I've really liked. This is one of them. So I guess I'll just say that. I don't know a lot about their other. I know they make a lot of. Don't they make like 60 or 70 beers or something? I probably had like 5 of them.
Yeah, it's a large array. Yeah. So you're.
They had that commercial, right? And they had that commercial where they were touting how many beers they make.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're impressed with what you had.
I'm impressed with the few that I've had. I guess. I mean, I just haven't had that many.
Now, did Katie have any of this beer?
No, this is the first one out of the pack so far.
Oh, okay. I think it's something she would probably like, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
Now,
yeah. It's all good. But I agree with pretty much everything Michelle said and everybody else too. But she kind of hit it spot on. So.
Yeah, she kind of gave the synopsis of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we keep bringing
for synopsisized it and made it really good.
I'm trying to think about if it's even possible. I mean, everybody's going to be different. Everybody that goes on Beer Advocate's going to be different. Obviously, Rate Beer, those kind of websites, YouTube, whoever tries these beers, everybody's going to be slightly different about what they really think about this beer, whether it's phenomenal to them or just very good. If there's anything that I can say, and I'm not saying that in a negative way in my thought process of the beer, but if there's anything that I can even think about that may be considered a negative to the beer is maybe it's not a hoppy bitterness, but that bitterness in the background of the beer might be a little bit too much for people that don't really drink stouts, don't really drink coffee, don't really like those kind of flavors, that really just drink like Maxwell House or Folgers or something like that, where it doesn't have a real dark roast quality to it. You don't really get those bitter finishing components to the beer. But I like that. I mean, it's exactly in that finishing aspect with the bitterness. It's exactly like drinking a dark roast coffee, like a French roast coffee. That's
but don't you think they could get used to it?
Yeah, entirely. Now that brings up a good point, because when I first tried this beer 2 weeks ago, I opened it and I just had it straight from the bottle, and I was just kind of like, I don't really know, but definitely, like you say, I'm getting very, very accustomed to it, and I like it a lot. Okay,
last thing, and then we'll close it out. How do you think this stands up against the Guinness the Guinness Extra Stout? That 6% Extra Stout. What do you think, Lee?
Okay, for me, well, I think I did a review on the Guinness Extra the other day. I'm not sure if it was yesterday or 2 days ago. They're pretty similar, but this one, the cream stout, I think has much more of the dark roastedness and more of the chocolate background, for my opinion. Which is why my opinion is I like the cream stout better than the Guinness Extra Stout, but that's just my opinion. I think this, coming from a guy who is not big on actual stout. I mean, I can appreciate a good stout just like this one, but everyone knows if you watch my reviews that I'm an IPA guy. So I think anyone who is an IPA guy or anyone, like, you can appreciate this beer for really what it is. And I think, for me, I like this one better than the Guinness Extra Stout.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
I can't really say which one I like better. It's hard to say. They're both so good. Briar, try to talk now. Let's see if we can hear you.
Nothing. Yes.
Dang.
I can hear him.
John can hear
Isn't
me.
that strange?
I can hear
I
him.
can hear him
I
perfect.
don't. I do not.
I cannot hear him.
It's strange. Half the people can hear him, and the other half cannot. That is very bizarre. But
Don't know.
you tell us what he's saying. I mean, it's really strange.
Very good. Very good. I think I like this one more than taste-wise than the Foreign Extra Stout as well. Foreign Extra Stout's a little bit boozier in my opinion. The ABV's a little bit higher, but
I don't hear a word he's saying.
He said he likes it better than the. He says I think he said the foreign is a little bit more boozier.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
Yes,
7.5%.
Yeah, not
This
the
one's got
foreign.
a-
I mean, just their extra stout. The one that they
That
sell
is-
everywhere, the 6%.
The white
This
label.
one's got
Yeah,
more
the
flavor than
famous
the Extra
Guinness,
Stout.
the one that's
I think it does too, Fryer. Yeah, I agree with that.
what?
He says it's got more flavor than the Guinness.
The Guinness
Yes.
has a really different type flavor because the Guinness, they mix beers together. They add a sour beer to it.
It has more of to me that has more of a dark fruity quality to it. That Guinness.
Ah, yeah, that's
Yes.
you're right.
Yes.
Cherries. It's like almost like booze-soaked cherries.
Yeah.
Yes.
I knew I was thinking of something. You're right. The Guinness has the cherries, the black cherries.
Yeah, black cherries.
I
Yeah.
couldn't place it, Eric.
But this beer, I think the cream stout does, but it's just so very light, and that's what I kind of like about it. Everything's very, very flavorful, but although they got a lot of different components that are very, very light that come together to round out a nice tasting beer.
Okay.
Which is why I think a lot of people would like it.
I'm not saying nothing about the Guinness, bad about Guinness. I mean, every once in a while I might drink one, but I think it's got such a heavy body and thick. I mean, this here's a more medium body. I mean, it's a thinner drink. I mean, to me, this is way better to me than the Guinness.
Definitely.
Okay. Now, would anybody, instead of saying the same thing all these times, would there be anybody here that would not buy again? So
No,
everybody would buy it again.
I'd buy it.
Yeah.
Again.
But there's so many different beers out there. That's the problem with craft beer. So many different beers out there. You just want to. You don't even really think about repeat buying and trying.
Hey, Billy.
That's the problem, is that people will jump from one to the other. Oh, yeah, the Murphys. Yeah, you're right, Friar Tuck. You can't beat that one almost. You almost can't beat that one. That Murphy's imported stout, that thing is dynamite. It's not really made in Ireland anymore,
There it is.
but it's really delicious.
Well, I think somebody brought up a good point there. I mean, there's so many craft beers. Do you really want? I mean, you've drank this one. Do you really want to go back and buy it again? I mean,
Yes, but on the other hand, you know how the craft beer world is. You jump from one to the other just to try them all. That's what the manager of the store complains about to me. He says, yeah, they buy it once, and then it just sits there on the shelf. They can't get rid of it because everybody's jumping on to the next thing that came out.
Right.
He says, but stuff like Budweiser and Bud Light, it just constantly moves. Like you got these loyal drinkers, they're just going to always buy it, right? So it always rotates. It never gets old on the shelf. So, but that's their problem, not necessarily my problem. You know what I mean?
well, I think one day it's going to be a big problem because once everybody drinks it all up, I mean, there's not going to be much more to taste.
But you and I discussed that so many times about how what starts happening is they all start tasting kind of like the same, right?
Yeah. I don't know if I could have this beer around all the time as an everyday kind of a drinking beer. I don't really see sweet beers and sweet stouts as being that kind of an everyday drink. Even if I love coffee, which I really, really do, I couldn't see me drinking this every day.
I'd have to try it out first.
Yeah.
See if I did, but of course I'm not going to buy it and drink it every day. So
Right.
there's no point in even talking about it because I think I could get used to it, but I'm not going to do that because I got a whole fridge full of singles of so many different beers that I've got to get through. So you know how that it's like what John's talking about. So anyway,
Exactly.
I appreciate.
But I'm thinking when fall rolls around and you first get that bite in the air and the leaves start turning, this would be a very pleasant beer to come home to at the end of the day.
Oh, no doubt.
Sounds interesting.
No, I'm not gonna say it. But anyway, I was gonna say even with scrambled eggs and bacon at 6.
Whatever you do with your Jack in the Box.
Well, I do the breakfast beer thing sometimes. But anyway, next week is a whole different animal. Some people will be appalled. Other people will be elated.
Steel Reserve all over again.
It's Ice House Edge. Now you can look at that any way you want to, but I see them selling quite a bit of it. I see them selling quite a bit of it at the grocery store. And
Expect to see you, Black Metal Troy. We're gonna see you.
yeah, but I want him to be able to remember his visit.
Let me try this beer.
If you dig my my point. Oh yeah, you have it. Now that's going to be
Hopefully I can find it.
that's going to be a beer that a lot of people aren't going to be able to get. Sad to say.
Yeah, I found it in New Hampshire.
It's one of those oddballs. But if you call your local Miller distributor, they will definitely be able to tell you if it's available.
Friar Tuck said
Friar Tuck said what?
he found it.
Yeah,
I found it
they
in
sell it
Hampshire.
at Mathern's for $2.99 a 4-pack. So for pints, I can definitely
Are
get
you
it.
shitting me?
$2.
I got to get $5 for a 4-pack of it.
$2.99 a pint. I mean, for 4 of them, for 4 pints. It until a year ago was $2.88 for 4 pints. So I'm not kidding. I'm serious. And then some of the gas stations have the tall 24-ounce cans for about $2.75, something like that. But it's a better deal to get the 4 pints, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, thank y'all for joining us, and we appreciate everybody's input, even if we couldn't hear it. Because of
See you guys later.
some bizarre internet thing.
I can't hear him. Nope.
It's really weird.
Yeah.